it again, but it definitely is.
Opened your eyes a little bit.
It's made me a better person, I think, a more aware person. That's probably a better way to put it. And we lived our life very private and a little bit reclusive, and maybe someone comes.
So Ann, it's been 4 years in the making, but what happened at the State House recently?
Well, it's my understanding that they have now, it just passed, the feed bill has finally passed, and now we're just waiting for the governor's signature.
Right, so for years now, this issue started right here on your farm. Tell us about when the tax ban came a few years ago.
Interestingly enough, we received a letter and a phone call that we were being audited by the state and the feds. The feds came down, it was simultaneously. And when we were audited by the feds after a week at our accountant's office, he left and said, "We're going to owe you money." But the state took a different interpretation, and that was when they couldn't find, I felt, when we couldn't find anything wrong with our books. The next thing that came out was the state found what I considered a very narrow reading of an ordinance or a law that said that we would have to pay tax on feed for our alpacas, basically.
Well, let's go back even further than that. Didn't they say that you had to pay a sales tax on the sale of the alpaca?
Yeah, I forgot about that. Actually, it started with that. Is we received a six-figure tax bill. And upon receiving that tax bill, we were also told that we couldn't register our vehicles, we couldn't renew our incorporation. Basically, we were put out of business, our driver's license, everything. We were basically put out of business if we didn't pay it. And fortunately enough, the support of the Farm Bureau and some other people, we were able to fight that and work with the state to have what we believe a better interpretation of the law than how they were interpreting it.
And then the next year they came down and said, okay, so you don't owe any tax on the alpaca, but you owe tax on the feed for the alpaca.
Correct. And the thing that was most disheartening about that for us, not only was it the feed on alpacas, but it was actually going to have an impact upon the statewide farming. And we were so used to kind of fighting battles at that point that...
She's going to get hurt on that
I don't know, let me grab her. But we realized that this wasn't just about an alpaca farm. It was about sheep, and it could have impacted many industries. So for us, luckily Farm Bureau and other groups came in and helped us out with this.
Great. So now they haven't bothered you for the past few years, though. I mean, it did take us 3 years to get the bill passed, but they haven't bothered you, have they?
It's kind of unusual. It was we weren't bothered at all by it. It kind of disappeared. And it was great because it bought us time to the 3 years necessary to get to the point that we're at today. But it was a little unusual, to be quite frank with you. I was surprised.
So how much does an alpaca, a good breeding alpaca, sell for nowadays?
Nowadays, with the change in the climate and economy, I would say, champion alpacas are still around the mid-20s, 20,000. Most average alpacas are going for around $6,000 to $8,000.
Oh, I see.
For females.
Right. Well, how much does the male go for?
The males can really vary. There's fiber alpacas, which are, I don't like to use the word pet, but say pet quality, can be anywhere from a few $100s to a few thousand to $2,500. And but the breeding males, the studs, since there's such a limited few that actually, what we call make the cut, those males can actually go still for, recently another male sold for well over $100,000.
Have any ever sold for $1 million?
Absolutely. And there's still many selling for quite a few $100,000. I like to be conservative,
right?
Just so people don't get false illusions.
Yes, right. Because you also had to pay $30,000 to get them.
Absolutely, or $100,000, or $250,000, or $300,000. That's the hard part. Yes.
And what is alpaca fleece? Is fleece the proper word?
And we like to use fleece or fiber. And the fiber is it's graded. There's a few different ways of grading it, but basically there's scientific grading that we do by sending samples out to the lab, and then the fleece is sorted by quality, color, uniformity, and depending on the scope of that, their price ranges. Some go for quite a few dollars per ounce, and others.
Can you give me a range?
It's really hard. I mean, some show fleeces, like an alpaca show fleece, some of them are still selling for a few $1,000s a piece, which which I can't do the math in my head right now, but we usually sell them the complete blankets as one entity.
I thought you sold it by the ounce.
We do. When it goes to hand spinners, it goes to by the ounce.
So how much does it go for an ounce?
It really depends. I haven't been selling it by the ounce because we've been wanting people who want the complete animal. The reason for that is when you create products, the uniformity of having one style fleece across the board is very desirable, very hard to come by. So for us, we're selling it more by the alpaca nowadays. I mean,
So you don't know how much it goes for by the
$4
ounce?
to $10 an ounce, or
$4 to
some that are getting
$10 an
$20 an ounce. So it depends what you're looking at.
Oh, it's nice seeing you again.
Good to see you.
Right.
We can do it. We have wind protection and if everything's so, and it just seems the heat for us is a bigger problem.